Giannis Antetokounmpo, a 6'11" forward for the Milwaukee Bucks. He's played 6 total NBA seasons. He was born and raised in poverty in Athens, Greece, so from the very offset, he was not dealt a great hand. But through years of hard work, alongside being blessed with an NBA body, he found himself as the Bucks' 15th pick in the 2013 NBA draft. After being drafted, that same mindset he had coming from humble beginnings continued on and manifested itself in even more hard work and grind on his game. Every year, his numbers took a leap across the board as he eventually obtained more and more playing time as he kept getting better. Eventually, by 2017, he led his Bucks in all 5 major statistical categories and was even top 20 in the league in those 5 categories as well. That year, he was also named to his first NBA All-Star appearance and was also the league's most improved player. The sky was the limit. The next season in 2018, he was in the MVP race, but ultimately lost it to James Harden and was also bounced out of the playoffs in the first round by an also young and upcoming Boston Celtics team. However, this did not waver his determination as he continued to hit the gym, and it showed as his body and his talent level continued to improve. In 2019, this past season, Giannis dominated the league. He put up a monster 28 points per game, almost 13 rebounds, and 6 assists a night. He also led his Bucks to a first seed in the East, winning a league-best 60 games. They swept the Pistons in 4 games, defeated the Celtics in 5 games, and even led the series against the Raptors 2-0 in the conference finals. But unfortunately for the Bucks, they lost a consecutive 4 games straight, eventually losing the series in 6. His team may have lost that battle, but this time won the NBA Most Valuable Player Award this past year in 2019. And that's all that's happened in the young career of Giannis Antetokounmpo. An MVP, no rings, but potential as far as the eye can see. The greatest NBA player of all time, at least by most circles in basketball, is Michael Jeffrey Jordan, a 6'6" shooting guard who played for the Chicago Bulls almost his entire career from 1984 to 1998. He went to 6 NBA Finals and won every single one of them, being able to also prevent a single Game 7 from occurring. Because of the fact that he was 6 for 6 during the finals, most people call him the greatest player of all time. Now, there are 2 main criteria most people consider when ranking NBA players in all-time rankings. 1 is team success, and 2 is individual greatness. The reason why some people may say that LeBron is the GOAT and not MJ is because regardless of how much team success one has, they say the greatest should be the player who is better individually. People who think LeBron is the greatest of all time say he was a better passer, a better rebounder, and also a better shooter. And because of the fact that he is individually better as a player, also because of being better overall statistically, that he should be the GOAT regardless. But with MJ, they fail to consider that performing in the clutch is one trait that cannot be taught and one that can ultimately define a player's career in all-time rankings. And not just clutch shots, but clutch performances, and also simply showing up when your team needs you to the most. But the real question is, which is more important when ranking players? Overall team success or individual greatness? Now, I personally believe it's a balance of both. Team success could be in part by one's own individual greatness, although the teammates around you do play a factor, but individual greatness could count as well. But in my opinion, what puts Jordan over the top regardless is the fact that he was 6 for 6 in the finals, not just because of the talent he had around him, but it was also because of his own individual greatness. By performing well in the clutch, making countless clutch shots, and simply showing up when his team needed him to the most. So in my opinion, the greatest players of all time should be ranked by 3 criteria. 1, their overall team success, but also considering the team they had around them and how much their team's success was attributed to them. 2, individual greatness, such as awards like MVPs, Defensive Player of the Years, how talented they are, how complete of a player they are, or other personal accolades. And 3, how they performed in the clutch. Those are the 3 criteria for me, and by those 3 categories, I do believe MJ is the GOAT as of today. But now let's get back to Giannis. Now, many argue today that Giannis could be considered the best player of all time one day based upon his overall skill level, potential, and also work ethic. So by using those 3 criteria I previously mentioned, let's finally answer the question, if he can in fact eclipse Michael Jordan one day as the greatest NBA player of all time. Now looking at the first criteria, team success, we can see Giannis has 0 rings in his young NBA career so far, but also no finals appearances. We can certainly say that he led his team to the Eastern Conference Finals against the Raptors in the 2019 playoffs, so that does bode well for him in terms of team success so far in his young NBA career. But even if he attains more team success in the future, could he really surpass Michael Jordan in this category? Now I do believe it's possible, but extremely unlikely to match. With MJ, he won exactly 6 rings without losing a single time in the finals, and that would be insanely difficult to match. You'd have to be perfect. It's pretty safe to say he probably won't beat MJ here, but there are still 2 other categories to go where he could make up some ground. For Giannis to eclipse MJ, he'd have to win in the other 2 categories, and let's see if he could. The second category, again, is individual greatness. Now MJ is about as talented as they come. He was certainly the most athletic shooting guard, if not guard, of all time. He could score the rock at will in the paint, and regardless of him lacking a consistent jumper from the outside, he won 10 scoring titles. That's right, folks, he won 10 scoring titles. That alone should be enough to tell you how much of a beast he was offensively. Now looking at him defensively, he won Defensive Player of the Year in 1988, and he led the league in steals 3 times. He could lock down just about anyone, and I do mean anyone, on the perimeter at any time. His one defensive quote-unquote weakness, per se, could be rim protection, where his highest blocks per game was 1.6 in 1988, and his career average is 0.8 blocks per game. Even though MJ was actually a great rim protector for his position, we can't say he'd be better at protecting the rim than a big man such as a power forward or center, regardless of how well he defends the rim for his height or position. So aside from shooting and rim protection, MJ was essentially one of the greatest players in every other asset of the game. However, Giannis could eclipse MJ as a better individual talent by addressing his one offensive weakness of shooting and also by being a better rim protector than Michael. It is insane how well Giannis can score even without having a jump shot in the first place, but if he doesn't become a better shooter than MJ was, it would be impossible for him to be considered better individually as a player. His 3-point percentage was well under 30% this past season, and his career percentage isn't much better either. If he had multiple seasons in which he could shoot 35% or above from behind the arc, I'd say that would safely put Giannis as a better shooter over MJ. Again, we wouldn't look at his career 3-point percentage because players can always improve, and we'd also look at the best player concerning talent level in one single moment in their primes, not as a career, except concerning accolades. And looking at blocks per game, he has already eclipsed Michael, as his highest season was 1.9 blocks per game in 2017. So for Giannis to be a better individual player than Michael, he'd have to be a better shooter. Giannis, however, has also proven he's a better rebounder than MJ, but around the same skill level in passing. So let's say over the course of his career, Giannis improves his jump shot, and when it's all said and done, he eclipses Michael as the better individual player. Now I personally believe LeBron has already done that, being that he's stronger, taller, a better shooter, rebounder, and passer than Michael was. But what puts MJ over LeBron easily is clutchness. People do not realize that being clutch is really all that matters sometimes. You could have the body of LeBron with the strength of Shaq, and with the jump shot of Steph Curry. But if you don't show up in the clutch, meaning performing well overall or knocking down crucial shots in deciding moments, then it quite frankly doesn't matter. For example, in these past 2019 finals, if Steph Curry hits this jumper, there could be a Game 7. See how it didn't matter how great of a shooter he was in that moment? If that shot doesn't fall, it quite bluntly doesn't matter how great they are at something. If you're clutch, you can overcome your lack of skill level per se. And clutchness is what puts MJ as the best player of all time, as he always showed up performance-wise and also drained key clutch baskets. So, looking at clutchness, could Giannis surpass Michael? Looking at it on the surface, it's a little unfair to make any judgments right now. Seeing it in this moment, most people, including myself, would say it's ludicrous that anyone could be a more clutch player than Michael was. However, I'd say we can only truly judge how clutch Giannis was when his career was all said and done. So far, he hasn't shown any notable clutch shots, as his jump shot still needs some work, but he has shown the ability to step it up in the playoffs. Looking at everything, including the three categories, it's safe to say that as of right now, Michael Jordan is a safe bet as the greatest NBA player of all time for a very long time. He beats Giannis in 2 of the 3 categories, of course with the assumption that Giannis is a more talented player one day, but do note that I do in fact believe Giannis could become the greatest of all time if he significantly improves his outside game and also proves his overall game not only translates to multiple championships, but that he shows up in clutch moments as well. So can Giannis surpass MJ as the greatest player of all time? Only time will tell, and it will be pretty dang hard to do so, let alone potentially throwing in some luck, but I do believe it's possible. This has been Deluxe Gamer here. I hope you guys enjoyed. Peace.